play was it tonight?
First of all, do you hear this?
I do. They're
do you
incredible.
Hear this? Unbelievable respect and much respect to these fans, to this country. This is unbelievable. I've never been a part of something like this in my 13-year career. This is special, and they really appreciate what their team did. To get back to your question,
Welcome to the post-game podcast for Game 6. I'm Zarar, and I'm doing this one solo. It's the final post-game podcast as the Raptors lose to the Cavaliers 113-87 and lose the series in 6 games as the Cavaliers advance to the NBA Finals. 6 games, that's how long we lasted, and that's about 2 more games than what anybody gave the Raptors credit for, so there's something to feel good about here. I think we gave the Raptors easily their biggest fight in the playoffs so far, because they had destroyed Detroit, they had annihilated Atlanta, and they hit a stumbling block against the Raptors. I don't think this was a particularly tough series for the Cavs to win. Their 4 games were pretty much all blowouts, but the Raptors did manage to scrape out 2 wins. One of them was a semi-blowout, Game 3, I'd say. So there's something to feel good about, for the Raptors in this series. And on the playoffs as a whole, I think winning 2 rounds is something commendable, and we'll talk about that a little later in the podcast. And this comes on the heel of a 55-win season, so you put all these things together, and progress is probably the word that comes to mind when you think about this season overall. And right now, it's a little hard to do that because we just got killed again on our home court and lose the series. So we'll talk about the game momentarily, and then maybe look at the big picture a little bit later on. This was a competitive game to start. Cleveland was up 6 at the end of 1, and the first half of this game was really dominated by the officiating. A couple of big calls that happened might have affected the flow of the game, maybe taken the crowd a little out of it or brought them into it. Depends how you want to look at it. One of them was Tristan Thompson's elbow on Kyle Lowry, which wasn't called. It should have been an offensive foul. And on the other end, Bismack Biyombo basically cleared space in what I would call a natural basketball move and hit Kevin Love and scored 2 points on it. And for the first time ever watching basketball, I saw the officials retroactively review a play, call an offensive foul, call a flagrant instead, take the 2 points away, give Cleveland possession, who hit both free throws, and the balls. It was a major turning point early in the game. In the grand scheme of things, it probably didn't affect the outcome of the game, but that first half was very stop and go just because the officiating was, they reviewed pretty much every other play in that first half. A lot of complaints to the ref from both teams. I think the Raptors were generally aggrieved. I think they got the short end of the stick in terms of the officiating in the first half. But I don't know if that mattered towards the outcome of the game, but it certainly felt like a little unfair because I think some of the calls were going the Cleveland's way, and Bismack Biyombo, who picked up the flagrant, was going to be suspended if there was going to be a Game 7. Obviously, there isn't one, so it doesn't really matter. But that was a theme of the first half: officiating being poor for both teams, but the Raptors definitely getting the short end of the stick. And the other theme for me was the Raptors just missing wide open looks. There's no more analysis needed beyond that. DeMario Carroll, Patrick Patterson, Luis Scola, they had some really, really good looks in that first half, set up off of dribble penetration and some good ball movement. They just weren't able to knock it down. And it seemed like every time they missed a wide open look, Cleveland came back and hit like a fadeaway 3 via J.R. Smith, or Kyrie Irving had hit a big basket. And it's these 5-point swings that happened throughout the game. The Raptors missing a wide open 3, Cleveland coming back and scoring. And this happened so often that eventually it just broke the Raptors. And it was left to Kyle Lowry for some late game heroics, or late fourth quarter heroics to bring the Raptors kind of back in it, but not really, because they were always down like 15, 18. It's when you look at this game, it's the Raptors. They missed a lot of wide open looks, man. They missed a lot of wide open looks. And on the other hand, we caught Cleveland on a very, very hot night. They were 17 for 31 from 3. So everything they were taking, they were hitting. Kevin Love was hitting threes. He was 4 for 8. J.R. Smith was 5 for 8. Channing Frye, who's been killing us, was 2 for 3. And LeBron was 3 for 6. He was 13 for 22 overall. Hit a bunch of jumpers in this game, which was entirely a bit unexpected because that's not been a strong suit this postseason. So when you add all those together, the Cleveland offensive juggernaut was just too much for the Raptors defense to handle. And when you compound that with missing some clean looks, it's demoralizing. And I think that took a mental toll on the Raptors. And even when Kyle Lowry was making his run in that third quarter, fourth quarter, I know he hit a couple of threes and he passed it off to Patterson or DeMar Carroll for a wide open look who clanked the three. And you could just see that at that point he was looking for some help from somebody on his team to hit some shots, and nobody really was able to do that. And the Raptors shot 42% in this game. They probably needed to shoot around 50 to have a chance. That's just how it goes. I think it's part just bad luck, part nerves, part what have you. And then JV played. I mean, the Raptors went to JV after the whole Bismack Biyombo fiasco, and JV, he was great against Indiana. It was solid against the first couple of games against Miami, but when he came back in this series, he always looked rusty. On the boards. He tried really hard, but his positioning was off, his timing was off. Rebounds that you expect him to get, he wasn't getting. Matchups that you expected him to exploit, he wasn't exploiting. He was catching the ball a little too far away from the basket, not getting in good position. So the rust was all over Valanciunas in this series, and he didn't really have the impact that he needed to have. And then he was matched up with Channing Frye a couple times, who burned him. And on the other end, he lost him because he has a tendency on defense to just go into the paint. And then he realizes that Channing Frye is his cover, and he's 10 feet away from him, and Frye hits a three. So it didn't work out. But LeBron, man, I mean, you got to talk about this guy. I mean, I think he's playing the best basketball of his career. This is the best he's ever been, and you don't see him make a single selfish play on the basketball court, man. You don't. He's a complete basketball player at this point. He's not looking for his own shot. He'll take his own shot if it's offered and if it's to the benefit of the team. But at no point in this series or in this playoff run, or maybe even in the season, have you seen LeBron try to take over the game and win it on his own. It's just that's not him anymore. He used to do that early in his career, but I think he realizes, and he had some post-game quotes after game 5 that he doesn't take the game over because that's not why the Cavaliers are where they are. And when you look at his stat line today, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, 33 points. What's missing from that line is his court vision, like how quickly he moves the ball around, how many hockey assists he has in this game, because they give him the ball in that high elbow area and then allow him to survey and operate. They maybe set 1 or 2 screens for him, but then he seems to make the right decision every time, whether it be drive or kick, drive or score, pull back and make a zip pass, pass it over to the weak side because the defense is shading towards him. Everything he does is just the correct play on the court. And when you have a guy with that kind of mentality, with that kind of skill and talent, and then you have all these role players around him hitting threes, it becomes very difficult to stop for a Raptors team that was second worst all season in defending the three. So it's not a big surprise that the Raptors conceded a lot of open looks and the Cavaliers nailed them. And you got to give Cleveland credit. That's what it is. I mean, the Raptors tried something a little different in the game. They tried to trap the high pick and roll a lot, as try to get the ball out of Kyrie Irving's hand, try to get the ball out of LeBron's hand. It worked momentarily, but Cleveland quickly reset and figured something else out. So credit to Dwayne Casey for trying something against this Cavaliers team, but I really don't think that he could have done much. DeMar Carroll is a guy that I've been a little critical of in this postseason, and I think he's had a subpar series and he's had a subpar, playoffs, because again in this game I think you saw that he just was not able to slow down LeBron at all, or even like push him out a feet further than he wanted to be. I think when James Johnson came into the game in that second half, he probably did the best job on LeBron in terms of like contesting a shot and forcing a drive and staying with him. But anytime you're asking James Johnson to guard LeBron, there's probably signs of a bigger problem elsewhere. So my whole thing here is that you got to credit Cleveland, and they're the better team, and they won. From a Raptors perspective, it's same old. It's not nothing much to say beyond what we've said all season long. They've had 10 assists in this game, which is a pretty low number for them. What that hides is the wide open looks that they missed. They missed a lot of open looks, and I think when they look at the game tape, if they look at the game tape, they'll notice that they might have even had a chance in this game if they had drained their the looks that were on offer. Kyle Lowry was probably our most effective player again, 11 for 22 for 35 points, including some huge plays in that late third quarter, early fourth, where Cleveland looked to have pushed the lead to like 18, 19. Lowry pulled it back to 12. I think it was just his sheer willpower that prevented the fourth quarter from being complete garbage time. And credit to him, he came off with about 3-4 minutes left, got a standing ovation. DeRozan came off as well. What was weird was that they started hugging the Cleveland bench midway through the game, like with 4 minutes left in the game, which was a bit odd. Haven't seen that too often, but whatever. They got a standing ovation and they came to the bench, and then there was garbage time for the last 4 minutes in official terms. The crowd was amazing. I think they didn't stop the "Let's Go Raptors" chant for the last 4 to 5 minutes. I think that was impressive. And as you heard in the intro to this podcast, LeBron gave some mad props to the Raptor fans who were impressive. I think the fans at the game were impressive. The fans outside the arena were impressive. The fans on Twitter were impressive. Everything was really impressive about the Raptor fans. And I think one thing that comes out of this playoff run is the visibility that the city has gained. Not just the team, but that the actual city in terms of the exposure it's gotten, how well it's looked on ESPN and on TNT when they do show the broadcasts, how loud the arena has been. And I think when you combine all these things, it's got to look good for impending free agents, people who might want to come to Toronto. I think LeBron's comments will carry a lot of weight because, it's LeBron James, and when he says things like those, people hear about it. And it's not just that they hear about it, they can experience it. If you watch this game on TV, you just saw how amazing the ACC looks. So props to all the fans who made this a really enjoyable experience. From a big picture perspective, from a playoff big picture perspective, I think at the start of the season, the goal was loosely set as let's win one playoff round and call that a step forward. And as the team got better and better, started winning more and more games, people elevated their goals. It was no longer about winning one playoff round. It was about maybe winning 2 playoff rounds. And sure enough, they did that. They beat Miami. Granted, they were without Chris Bosh and Hassan Whiteside. We were without JV. They took him to 7 games and they beat him. So already heading into the Cleveland series, you could have termed the playoff run already a success because you had won 2 series and that was well beyond your preseason expectations. But when you have a 55-win team that's second in the conference, your bare minimum is to get to the Eastern Conference Finals because you're one of the top 2 teams in the conference. So it depends on how you want to look at it. You might see it's expectations, surpassed or expectations achieved. For me, I think it's expectations surpassed because even though we were second seed with 55 wins, we just did not have had any playoff success. And even asking this team to win one playoff round as a second seed was, I think, a bit of an ask, as Indiana proved. Because when you haven't, gotten over that hurdle of winning a playoff round, nothing is guaranteed. And the fact that they beat Indiana and got over that, that monkey off their back, I think that's a big step forward. And against Miami, they took it one step further. So I think it's expectations achieved for me. And then against Cleveland, it was pretty much all gravy. They won 2 games. And I think they gave the Cavs a series that most people didn't expect them to give. So I think playoff big picture perspective, a big success. As somebody who's been watching this team since day one, this is obviously the most fun I've had watching this team. The most fun I've had following a player in Kyle Lowry and how well he's done, even more so than Vince Carter, to be honest with you, because we talked about a couple of podcasts ago with Tim Chisholm that Lowry is a guy that wears his heart on his sleeve. He refuses to lose. He wants to carry the team on his back. It doesn't back down, isn't scared, and it's enjoyable to watch that. So it's I don't know. It's been a lot of fun, and this loss to Cleveland stings, and getting blown out 4 times hurts. But I think you have to look at the big picture and say there's some success. And obviously we'll talk about off-season moves and what we can do better and so on in future podcasts. But right now you got to say it's a big successful playoff run. I think that's really all there is to it, man. It's it's even though it's sad times, the season is over. There's got to be some. You got to feel good about how well the Raptors did. Um, just talking about some players here. I mean, you saw this in this game. We started Luis Scola on Kevin Love again, who lit him up early, and that's probably one of the spots that the Raptors really have to look at improving going forward, if they want to take the next step and go to the NBA Finals or make the Eastern Conference Finals even more competitive because LeBron's going to be back. He's the wall you kind of have to go through. So when you build your team over the summer, it's not so much about, hey, can we have playoff success? It's about how do we beat LeBron? How do we beat the Miami, a full force Miami team next year if Chris Bosh is playing? So your expectations into the summer are already heightened. So you have to plan accordingly. And when you look at our roster, game 1 of the season we had Luis Scola starting. And game 6 against Cleveland, we had Luis Scola starting, who was in 6 minutes over 1, missed that wide open look. It's a problem, and that's Ujiri has to address that. And it's a problem that existed last summer, and it's a problem that continues to exist this summer. Luis Scola is a pretty good player. I would actually like to have him back, but he shouldn't be playing 25 minutes a game. That's not what his role I hoped was at the start of the season. The fact that he's playing so many minutes probably says that there are bigger problems elsewhere. So that's a situation we have to rectify. Obviously, Bismack Biyombo is probably our second most important free agent after DeMar DeRozan. You have to see what you can do there. Yeah, if the rumors of him demanding $17 million or him commanding $17 million a year are true, then his contract becomes untenable. And then you got to make a decision with DeMar DeRozan. I know there's some rumors from down south that say that he's already headed to LA and whatnot. I don't believe that. I think he's going to stick with the Raptors, because just like he supported Kyle Lowry and kind of convinced him to stay with the Raptors, it would look really odd if he bolts after what just transpired over the last month and a half. So I expect DeMar DeRozan to come back. Whether you believe he's a max player, honestly, man, I don't know what that means anymore. I think people tend to equate max player with elite player, and that's not the case anymore. That's just not how the NBA works anymore. Back in the day, there used to be like 3 max guys in the league, like Karl Malone, Michael Jordan, and Patrick Ewing or somebody like that. And that those were your top echelon players who commanded max salary. Now it's not about that. I mean, there's a rumor yesterday going on that Bradley Beal's going to demand the max. If he's getting the max, DeRozan should be getting the max. The fact is that the max doesn't necessarily mean that he's a top-tier player. The max just means he's beyond a certain level of skill, and that certain level of skill in the new age NBA deserves the max contract. It's as simple as that. Am I worried about DeMar DeRozan coming back and becoming a max player? Absolutely not. I've always had an issue with DeMar DeRozan being the best player on your team. I think if he's the best player on your team, we have a problem. If he's the second best player or third best player, ideally, you got a good situation going on. And right now, you got Kyle Lowry still in his prime, so I don't really have an issue with DeMar DeRozan coming back and making a lot of money. It doesn't really matter. I think the Raptors are like pretty low. I think 20th, 23rd. I think in payroll across the NBA. And if they increase that by $20-30 million next season, they should be able to get a couple of more players while retaining DeMar DeRozan. I don't know. It's just I think the whole max talk is overblown. The question is, do you want DeMar DeRozan back on this team? Yes, he's a good player who's improving. As long as he's not your best player, I have no issue at all. I think we should bring him back. And certainly you don't want to lose an asset like that, for free. So no issues there. DeMar DeRozan. Do I like his game? No, I don't like his game. I'm not a big fan of his long twos and poor defense and whatnot. But at the same time, he's an asset who I would want back on the Raptors because overall, I think he'll help you. So whatever it takes, bring him back. I don't think his contract is going to tie the Raptors up into a situation where they can't sign other players or it'll hamstring them. He's a guy who'll always have value on the trade market. It's not like you're locking into a guy in terms of it's not a sunk cost, so you just get him back. It's not even a question. So that's DeMar DeRozan. More roster looking up and down. DeMar Carroll, man, I would say that his first season as a Raptor has been if I had to give him a grade, I think it has to be a C minus. I know he was hurt all year, but at the same time, I was really disappointed in his performance in the against Cleveland. Defensively, I understand that it's LeBron James, but offensively, I think he made some. He missed a lot of clean looks, man. And then, in this game, you saw him make some questionable decisions. Like there was a couple of plays where he was driving on the break, and he had a smaller defender like Irving was like backing down on him, and instead of like taking it all the way to the rim, he kicks out to a low confidence Patrick Patterson for the three, who misses. Those are plays that you got to finish off at the rim, not just look to pass because you're low on confidence. So I didn't like his approach to this entire series on either end. And Patrick Patterson is a guy that I think what we've learned about Patrick Patterson is that he is an excellent bench player. I'm still not sold that he can be a 36-minute, 35-minute a game starter, because I think once he gets tired, his shot is immediately affected, and you saw that today. I think he was 1 for 5 from 3, played 35 minutes. This is not sustainable for him. Maybe over some conditioning over the summer, he comes back stronger and he's able to play high minutes and be productive. But from what we've seen so far, I don't know if he's starter material. It just doesn't seem like it. I think he's more of a 25-minute guy who will take 3 or 4 threes, play some good defense, and give you production that way. But I don't know if that projects into starting minutes. And which is fine, which is, I think, never was there an expectation that Patrick Patterson was going to be your marquee power forward. He was always a good bench player, and I think there's a room for him on this team, and it's just fine. We just need to solve the power forward position from a starting perspective somehow, and keep Patterson off the bench. James Johnson is obviously is going to leave the team. There's no room for him, especially with Norman Powell emerging. You would think that those minutes go to Norman Powell next year. And Terrence Ross, Terrence Ross, man. Oh, God. He's Terrence Ross. What was he in this series? 1 for 3 from 3, 2 for 6, 1 for 3, 1 for 2, 0 for 2, 0 for 1. Across the 6 games. Wasn't really a factor. Shot 29% from 3 in this series. This was after having a pretty decent series against Miami where he shot 35% from 3. It's just that much like him and DeRozan. Let me put it this way. DeRozan is a poor defender, but gets to play because he gives you a variety of things offensively. Terrence Ross gives you one thing offensively, but if he's not playing good defense or he's not impacting the game that end, he becomes a little unplayable. J.R. Smith is just stronger than him. LeBron, he has no chance of guarding. Some of the lineups Cleveland put out there, it did not make sense to play Terrence Ross. The only guy you could actually, see him possibly guarding was Kyrie Irving, but we never got real serious about that. He was always matched up by Kyle Lowry or Corey Joseph. So this wasn't the series for Ross. And I think if Ross needs to be, a quality starter or a quality bench guy, number one, he's got to get stronger. He can't be pushed around. He's 6'7" and 195. I think he's got to up that by 10 pounds or so, get some muscle, not get pushed around on the court so easily, improve his rebounding, improve his on-the-ball defense, or be more consistent in those areas. And I think that's his summertime to-do list. I think his three-point shooting is fine. I think it'll always be an asset. It's just that defensively he has to improve, and it starts with getting a little stronger, not allowing guys to push him off the block, not allowing guys to put him on their hip. It's those things that Ross has to work on, and obviously then the consistent effort and all that goes without saying. But he has the tools there, and I think he showed enough in the second half of the season and in the first and second round that he can be a productive starter or a productive bench guy, but he has some homework to do. That's all. And then Corey Joseph, man, I gotta say, man, very disappointed in his defense all series long. I think he had a significant drop-off against Kyrie Irving than what he did against Dwayne Wade or George Hill or those guys. Maybe it's fatigue. The Raptors have been playing, every other night for like a month now. And maybe it's just fatigue. They just did not have enough left in the tank. You saw Corey Joseph get pretty much destroyed by Kyrie Irving at every chance. A lot of bad positioning, not moving his feet well. And I think maybe it's fatigue. Maybe that's all we can write it off to, because he has been superb all season long. It's just that against Cleveland, he just did not stand a chance. Yeah, I guess my final thoughts here basically are more admiration for LeBron, man. I saw him operate in this game, and he was just dominant. And you just knew that no matter how strong Lowry came on late, it just wasn't going to happen for the Raptors, because they were just running into a freight train in LeBron and the Cavaliers. And valiant effort to the Raptors for sticking around as long as they did. Maybe if we had better outside shooting, we could have stayed competitive and maybe won this game, forced to Game 7. But over the long run, this was not a series that the Raptors were going to win. I would have been very fortunate for them to win this. So I think it's an expected outcome, and I think the Raptors have to feel good about themselves overall. And I think that's really all I have to say. I think it's been an enjoyable Raptors season. DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry, and the team have given us a lot of moments to celebrate. We'll talk about those moments over the next few months of the podcast. But yeah, it's been a happy times in Raptorland. I mean, I've been watching this team for 20 plus years now, and I can't recall a better time for being a fan. I guess the only other time that comes close is before the team had even played a game, because there was a level of excitement around Toronto and around having a team that you were giddy with. You couldn't sleep the night before the team was announced because you were that excited about it. And then obviously you had the Vince Carter years, the dunk contest, and so on, which took us to some heights and exposure across the U.S. That ended prematurely with Vince leaving, and then the Bosch era came. That gave us a couple of playoff seasons, which ended in disappointment against the Nets and the Magic. Somewhere along the way there was the Bargnani era, which was just pure disappointment. And then you had the Rob Babcock before that, the Kevin O'Neal years. When you put all that together and you just reflect on what you just experienced over the last month and a half, you might come to the conclusion that this is the best time to be a Raptor fan. I think the city's behind us. We have a huge fan base. We have a great arena. I think we have a good GM. We have some pretty good ownership. I think we have a good marketing team. We have some solid fans and some solid players. And I think the foundation for the future is quite strong. And it's the best time to be a Raptor fan. And enjoy that. And I think that's all really I want to say. I want to keep this one short. Thank you to everybody on Raptors Republic who has contributed throughout the season. Will, Blake, Chamberlain, Cooper Smither, Andrew, everybody who's come along the podcast. Sham, I'm missing so many people, but thanks to everybody for contributing to the site. We work a lot. We produce a lot of content. Blake obviously has been huge this season for us. He's been on Kyle Lowry. He is the Kyle Lowry of Raptors Republic, and he's carried the weight for long stretches of the season. And expect that to continue over the coming summer months as we produce content for the draft, free agency, and so on, right into summer league and then back into training camp. So stay tuned for Raptors Republic for all that content. And if you want to support Raptors Republic, please go to patreon.com/Raptors Republic and help us out wherever you can. On a personal note, I'll be with the site up till through September, and after that I'll take a year off from Raptors Republic because I'm going back to school. So next season you won't hear much from me at all, but I will be back the season after that. So yeah, that's that. Listener, most of all, thank you to you for downloading the podcast every week. We'll return to our normal schedule of podcasting, which is once or twice a week. The Monday Raptors Weekly podcast will resume starting this Monday, and then Blake and Will probably continue with the Raptors Weekly Extra podcast on Friday. So it'll be down to 1 to 2 a week. So no more post-game podcasts, no more daily podcasts, because there's not going to be that much to talk about. But again, the draft is coming up, free agency is coming up. It's still busy times here in Raptors Republic. Stay tuned for the site. Listener, once again, thank you for downloading the podcast. Give us a rating on iTunes. Tell us what we can do better. And if you fancy some basketball, you want to play some basketball, June 12th is our Raptors Republic 3-on-3 tournament. We have one spot left for one team. If you want to sign up, go to raptorsrepublic.com and click on the link at the top. So, that's that. I'll see you guys Monday with the regularly scheduled Raptors Weekly podcast. Until then, goodbye.